Okay, so can energy work all by itself totally heal an addiction, resolve it, make it as if it wasn't there, and leave everything at full function? The brain fully functioning, the body, the hormones, the neural pathways in the brain, etc. Kind of a tricky question because every person can be a little different and can have a little different needs. In my experience, energy work. So in my experience, addiction happens most often when we're not standing in our full power, consuming enough nutritious food, social interaction, self-talk, connection to our creator or source, healthy lifestyle habits, and living in integrity or honesty with ourselves. And also wounding, if we haven't healed wounds. All of those things can cause the system to say, I want happy chemicals. I want happy chemicals, and I don't want to be stuck in despair or sadness or fear or anxiety, so I'm going to choose happy chemicals, whether that's alcohol, drugs, pornography, sugar, shopping. There's all kinds of things that people can have an addiction to, including even behaviors of like criticizing people, putting people down, or all kinds of things. And in my experience, it's our system trying to feel better because it doesn't like to feel really low frequency. And so in my experience, what's needed to get out of that is that we have to get all the way from, when we're experiencing addiction, we're usually in a low frequency and in a suffering state. And we got to do whatever is needed, which it can be different for each person. That's where muscle testing can be really helpful. We need to do whatever is needed to get back up to the level of thriving. So that often can include clearing out wounds, baggage, trapped emotions, heart walls, heart wounds, healing wounds, clearing out beliefs, and also behaviors. If we criticize ourselves, we've got to clear that out and create a new habit of speaking lovingly to ourselves and to other people. If we have toxic relationships, people that we interact with in a very toxic way regularly, that's going to need to get cleaned out. That's going to continue lowering our frequency. So learning new ways to communicate, maybe setting boundaries, introducing new ideas, inviting, if we have a relationship, maybe inviting the other person to engage in a place of respect and love. And if they're not willing to, then setting a boundary, limiting the amount of time we interact with them or the circumstances in which we're willing to interact with them and how we are going to interact. Also increasing our energetic boundaries, that we won't take on other people's baggage or their complaining or their whatever, any negativity coming from other people, that we're not going to take that on. We'll let that be their business and their experience, and we're not going to now take on their emotions. Other things can include, once we clear out, nutrition as well. If our nutrition is not enough to sustain our body and our mind being able to function really well, we might need to make some changes in our nutrition. We might need to make more changes in our lifestyle, especially if we've been to a really dark place. We might not have the habits in place that will actually nourish our system. We might need to be very intentional about making new goals and practicing new habits of going outside into the sunlight, of smiling, of greeting strangers at the store, if that's socially a social norm, wherever you live. Sometimes that's not. We might need to practice in nourishing habits. And so that is often one of the steps that's needed to get, even after we heal wounds and we start cleaning out negative habits and setting boundaries in relationships, we'll need to add in a lot of stuff in order to get up to the level of thriving. And when we can get to that level of thriving, our system will feel much more, on the average every day, much more fulfilled and happy, and have enough neurotransmitters, have enough chemicals and hormones to keep our body functioning properly. And so to do that, it can often include, there might be certain books that are needed to be read to learn more about healthy relationships, about self-worth, about a passion we have, about how all kinds of things, whatever is needed, whatever is lacking. Might need to read books, might need to join clubs, might need to join an addiction recovery program where people come together in a safe, supportive way and learn about things that they can do and just receive support together. And then this one's really big. So then also just what other healthy habits are needed for the body to be cared for well. The body will always do the very best it can, but if it doesn't have enough minerals, if it doesn't have nutrition to make adequate neurotransmitters, if our gut biome is not functioning very well, there's just going to be real tangible limits to how good we can feel. So taking care of our body with nutrition, with exercise, also with socializing, with laughing, and even cuddling or hugging, staying hydrated. There are a lot of factors. One of the things that I find most needed or significant is for people to connect to their own personal worth and identity, and their purpose, feel passion and purpose, that they're here on the planet for a reason, be connected into which is can be a lot of reasons and a lot of stuff, but be connected into that, why they're here, what their purpose is, be connected into their passions or what really makes them feel alive. For me, it's speaking about true principles with people and holding space for people to heal. That makes me so alive. That makes my day whenever I'm engaging in that. If I chose not to do any of that at all and do things that were the exact opposite, that didn't include any of that, I would probably feel very, very different. Very low and sad, and like I was kind of dead inside because I wasn't doing what is most important to me, most meaningful to me, what I'm built for, what I love the most. So understanding who we are, our purpose, having some sense of purpose, and having a social support network and a connection to something bigger than ourselves are often things that are needed in order to reach that level of thriving. So coming back full circle, can energy work all by itself heal and resolve an addiction? Depending on the person and what other work they're doing in their life and what their body's needs are, it could. I think most often not. Cleaning out energy and bringing in supportive energy will do a lot, but if the body's nutrition is not adequate, if the lifestyle is full of habits that are low frequency, if the lifestyle is devoid and doesn't have enough high frequency nourishing habits, then it won't. There's other things that are needed. Also, even just our neural pathways in the brain, every time we repeat a belief, the neural pathway of the actual neurons gets thicker and thicker. And it gets easier to think that thought and that belief because the actual path that it travels on gets thicker. So there are actual physical changes that happen in the brain. So in energy work, we can clear the energy of the belief, and the body will start going through a transition of beginning to stop using this. But we have to use our agency and our choice to consciously practice the new belief and build up the neural pathway of the new belief until it gets thicker and thicker. And we still have the choice. We could choose to repeat this belief to ourselves if we want to, even though we cleared the energetic aspect of it. We can recreate that again. So there's a lot of, we have to practice new beliefs. We have to practice setting our intention each day. There's a lot involved. So each person is a little different. I went through an addiction to binging food, to overeating, binging and purging. And for me, the process included several things, included a lot of energy work, healing the wounds and the pain that was getting triggered and contributing to that. Also going to Overeaters Anonymous, practicing setting goals and practicing habits, becoming more conscious about what in my life was making me feel dead inside and what needed to change in my environment, in my home, in my interactions, in my own beliefs about myself, or unawareness of who I am, and unawareness of what I'm built for, what I would like to engage in, what I would like to build and create. So it required a lot of things. It required building new relationships, increasing my social network, going to the support group, doing the energy work, and then making a lot of changes in my life and in my boundaries and how I communicate with people and how I communicate with myself. There was a lot involved. So each person's a little different. And yeah, and in my experience, if we don't do if the system is requiring several different things, energy work and some lifestyle changes and some new beliefs, and social support network, and more education, or doing an addiction recovery program. And if we only do one or two of them, we won't be getting all the way. Oh, also for me, a lot of my connection to my Creator was a big part of that as well. So that's the long answer. So for each person, you can kind of tune in and ask your intention, set the intention to have clarity on what you need to do and what your system is going to require in order to be able to recover. And it still is a process. Even when you have all those things, it doesn't just happen overnight that like, oh, you learned all the new beliefs, you ate healthy for a little while. It can be a process, but a process that's educational each step of the way. So it's not a waste, and I feel like it's okay that it's a process. But yeah, it can require working at it and doing the inner work and the outer work for a period of time. I think it took me a year. Well, I can't remember how quickly I stopped, but it was a process. And I'd be happy to support in the way that I can. And learning muscle testing personally, so you can self-muscle test, is very powerful, so that you can be empowered to be able to ask your own system, what does my system need on my path of recovery, or even what does my system need next, because it might evolve over time of like, needed to do a support group, and then now, what do I need next? I need to read this book. What do I need to do next? And it might be a little different during the process as things change.